We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. It's, hopefully the temperature will stay cool with all the bodies in here. What we'll do here, we'll start out with a pledge to our flag and then a quick moment of prayer, and then we'll jump right into this. If anybody has a cell phone, it sure would be nice if you just check that to silent, please. And with that, we'll go ahead. If you'll join me, we'll stand real quick, do a pledge, and we'll get going.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we thank you once again for the outstanding weather we've had first. Lord, we're mindful and we're grateful that we're not in charge of that. I'm sure we'd mess that up as well. Lord, I pray for your guidance, wisdom, and discernment as we go through our county's business. Watch over us as we depart from here this evening. Lord, forgive us for our sins. I'll ask these things in your name. Amen. Okay. So right off the bat, I'm going to ask the board for a little latitude here. We have one item on here that is still not quite ready for prime time. That's old business item number 4. And your choice, we can either formally amend this agenda or just agree to postpone it to a later date. If there's any particular preference.
Did you make a motion to postpone?
If you just tell me you want to postpone it, I'm good with that. All right, and we'll get this one back on the agenda. We're still working that one. We'll make sure we get it filled here soon. Okay. The one item under a chairman's report is, again, it's a little bit of housekeeping, but we've got the chamber meeting this week. The IDA's already met, and they voted and approved the Chamber of Commerce agreement. As you'll recall, the Board of Education had a separate arrangement, and so it required us to go back and redo this Chamber of Commerce agreement. So tonight, what I'd ask you to do is, if we could, to vote to approve this Chamber of Commerce agreement. Each of you should have a copy, and it's the same language that was there before, removing only the reference to the actually, it was the Madison County School District was the previous language in there. So with that, if we can approve this evening, the chamber can vote on it this week, and this will be in place until it's either rescinded or not. I'll entertain a motion if you're ready to do so on that.
So moved.
I have a motion to approve the Chamber of Commerce agreement.
Second.
And a second. Are there any comments or questions on this particular document here? Seeing none, we'll go to Commissioner Strickland.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And I did fail to mention to the folks here that Commissioner Allen is under the weather tonight, so that's the reason he is not with us. Okay, we have no zoning matters, so we're on the statements and remarks from citizens. And again, folks are permitted to speak on any of the items. These are currently now items 5 through 10 on our agenda. Discussing a resolution to address environmental concerns of material use or processing of creosote-based materials. Item 6 is to discuss going out for bid on our historic courthouse roof replacement. 7 is a discussion appointing Robin Purcell to the Recreation Board. Item 8, discuss purchasing a new backhoe. Road Department is requesting that be paid for out of SPLOST funds. discuss goals and objectives for the departments, boards, and authorities, and then lastly, discuss amending our purchasing policy. So if we have anybody here tonight that would like to make a comment or statement on those items, you're free to take the floor at this time, and well, we probably have the time. I'm still going to ask that everybody keep it under 3 minutes if you did choose to speak. All rush the mic at the same time here. All right. We won't linger. On to new business, item number 5. It is a kind of a continuation from our last meeting. There was some comments and statements regarding environmental concerns at Georgia Renewable Powers that pertain to the burning of creosote cross ties. So what we have tonight on this is to discuss a resolution perhaps to address environmental concerns of that same material. And I don't know if the commissioners have had a chance to think about that, look at that, but I know that was initially put forth by Commissioner Doster. If you care to make a comment, or if you want to start then.
Yes, we appreciate the board's support on putting this on the agenda for this month. One of the things I guess I did ask, and the expectations was not to have a formalized document tonight, do a week return, but I guess the request was to see if staff, if the attorney's office could provide any kind of coordination or investigation and guide us in what that document may look like, or the language in that resolution that may be. Again, talking to our state and local officials, I think there's been some movement at the state level as well. So I'd maybe defer to Mr. Attorney, see if, what his comments are, or if there's an expectation on possibly a memo or some sort of document back to the board.
Sure. I did some more looking into that. So the plant operates under a permit issued by the EPD jointly under the permitting authority for Clean Air Act and Georgia Air Quality Act permitting. So the permit incorporates, it was originally issued in 2015 when federal law, which actually is sort of convoluted, not the Clean Air Act, but rather the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, was amended in 2016 to allow the burning of these railroad ties. The permit from EPD was amended accordingly to take that into account in the conditions of the permit. It was amended again at the federal level in 2018 to permit combustion of railroad ties with a combination of creosote and some other materials, and again, the GRP permit was amended accordingly. There is a 2009 AG opinion, Attorney General opinion, at the state of Georgia level, saying that the Air Quality Act, like the Water Quality Act, which is the old Freedman Farms case that sort of set the groundwork for preemption, preempts local ordinances on the same matter. So I'd like to do, as Mr. Doster said, I'd like to do a little more pulling all this together, maybe get a memo to the board, but before the next meeting. But probably you're looking at preemption as a matter of just local ordinance requirements. So your resolution would be either encouraging voluntary concessions or compliance by the industry, or action at the state level, or both.
Thank you, sir.
I'm not sure where I read it, but I did see the comments that you made mention of with Representative Powell, and he did make a comment that this, the banning of the material itself couldn't be conducted or could not be resolved at the local government level. So they're, I know through the House bill that they're working on, they're pushing that forward, and sometimes there's, it would suit me fine if the timing worked out and there was some word on that too before, the local board takes action, but we'll certainly look at that during the course of the next few weeks and see what comes to fruition. I don't know, they've got better part of a month and a half still to go, don't they, in the session? Seems to me it's at least a month and a half, so you may not hear anything before our next meeting on that, so if it, is the board's, desire, and they want to put something, then we'll, work with, the attorney on the wording of that, if that's okay.
If I might, also, I guess we had an issue with the ash and the dumping of it, which creosote is, I think, is the biggest concern with that ash, being done in places in the county. But as I understand it, there's been some movement on the state level as far as trying to put a bill through. Is that correct?
I don't know if that's much.
Oh, well, either way, yeah, I mean, I got an email about that today, just sort of a first draft, but yeah, apparently there's some legislators interested in that as well.
Right. So, would it be possible to, if we do come some kind of memo or understanding, to also have that included as far as
Sure. I mean, that's, I'll
being
write
in-
up whatever you
being
tell me.
being in support and urging our legislators to push that through.
I think group of that with bio-sludge.
Yes, well, if this is the, and I'll just ask you if that's, what, this is just a.
Yes, that's the one.
The proposed, yeah.
Right. Yeah, that one's on the Soil Amendments Act, which the trial court judge ruled in the Oglethorpe County case that this bio-sludge that they've been pumping is covered by the Soil Amendments Act, and counties are, again, preempted from regulating it.
And that's what they're sending the bill to change.
That's what they're proposing to change, to say counties and cities can impose more stringent requirements than the state.
The interesting part in this, though, and some of the language, though, is it may have some spillover, if that, you know, at least in, when it talks about the, you know, industrial byproducts, which may include but not limited to application rates, proper condition for application. One of the things with the company that has been contracted with by GRP, they have they reported through the EPD that ash was to be, the contracted operation was going to actually use that as an application to certain farmland, and the other was to be sent to the recycling center there in Gainesville. So that part that stays here in the county, there may be some, I don't know, there perhaps could be, when it talks about nutrient management plan documentation and stuff like that, there may be some crossover that might apply to some of that ash as it gets dumped out there too, so.
Well, the thing I was just trying to get to is to try to do this in one document rather than have multiple.
Right, well, of course, it's you and Tripp have pointed out together, there's actually two things there, which as the chairman said, you've got the ash and you got the biosolids. That one was really aimed at the biossludge. The ash might be regulated there. Then again, if you register something as a fertilizer, there's yet another act, a Georgia Act, the hovering fertilizer. And that's the one we dealt with before. We can impose zoning regulations, but not other types of regulation. So you might want all of this included in the same bill. It's gonna be affecting different parts of the state code, but, you know, there's similar issues.
Any other comment or discussion on that? Like I said, we'll follow up. These are items for discussion only right now, so that we won't be making or taking any action on this. So any other comments on agenda item number 5? Not. On item 6, we determined a while back that our courthouse here, the historic courthouse, needs a new roof. It is compromised. We do have water coming through that. And we do have some money set aside, or that was identified through an '08 SPOS that needs to be spent, needs to be expended by the end of June this year. And it's limited in where it can be spent, so there's money that has been collected in the 14 SPOS as well. What we're running into, the reason I'm asking for the go-ahead to at least go out for bid on this is the threshold is going to be around $100,000. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but we're going to talk in item 10 about amending the purchasing policy. But either way, even if whatever happens with that, I still think we're going to need to go out for bid on this. We have the timeline consideration, and again, the monetary threshold. I've received 2 and waiting on the 3rd quote on that, but just based on the 2 quotes that I have, we're already, you know, somewhere between 100, right around 100 and 150,000. So that may put us in that neighborhood where we actually, you know, will have to go out for bid on that. But you know, again, unless the board has any, we'll vote on this at the end of the month. We're not asking for it now, but just realize that a bidding process is from start to finish. You're looking at about at least 6 weeks, and at 6 weeks at the end of this month, and there's the award. This is from what I've been told, anywhere from a 2 to 4 month project as far as start to completion. And again, we're looking at a June deadline on that. So I still think we're in good shape, but sure would like that we be prepared at the end of the month to move forward on going out for bid on that. Any other comment or question about that?
Yeah,
Cool.
Go ahead.
No, I just said, don't we already have some funds in reserve for that?
Well, specifically, you have the SPOS that was earmarked,
Right.
and there's $80,000 there, and you have approximately $42,000 that would have been collected and complete by the end of June. I think it's 42. That's it. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. And then in the current SPOS, the most recent SPOS, there was actually 50,000, but that would come. But I believe it's the 2 existing SPOS funds would, or the accounts would more than complete at least that work on the roof there. Should the bid come back?
Yes, I guess I have a process or protocol question regarding our policy. I mean, Georgia Works construction law requires us probably to go out at $100,000 level. And I'm assuming our policy requires the acceptance of the bid and the contract to be awarded. But I guess I'm curious, does our policy require an action by this board for you to advertise? You're not?
No, not to advertise.
Then I don't understand.
Why wait till
Yeah.
the end of the month? No, and that's what I'm saying. If you didn't have, if it was your desire, I'd like to at least go out for bid on that. So, and then, based on that, the bids and everything come back. But, again, as our protocol has been, at least recently, is to try to give people the opportunity to look and think about it. But, the bidding process is gonna be 6 weeks before, you know, you'd have anything to present to the board by way of a bid. So,
I guess I would just entertain the fact that, unless
I would like to go out for bid, if that's your desire.
it would be my option to go ahead and release it.
Okay. Is any,
At the end, it provides some additional time frame in case an addendum or something needs to be issued. And then we're voting on an award, you know, as soon as the bids come in favorable, we get the bids, we can award a contract at the end of the following month instead of waiting
right.
or rushing something into it. So by the time you get the paperwork pulled together, you advertise it and leave it out there for 28 days.
Well, about by exception, unless there's a reason not to do it, am I authorized to go ahead and do that then? Does anybody have any problem with me doing it? Thank you. Item number 7, discuss appointing Robin Purcell to the Recreation Board. And I again, as we're not taking any action on that this evening, and Teresa, is this your appointment?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, and you've spoken and
Yes, I
everything's
have.
good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
She's an interested mother of an active fifth grade softball player. She has an older son, grew up in and around Athens and Oglethorpe County. Her sister, her sister is a longtime resident of Madison County, Terry Tankersley, who's involved in the community. So she's kind of been involved
Okay.
as well, so, yep.
well, very good, very good.
I guess my first question is, she agreed to do it?
She did.
Okay, all right, all right, just,
I made sure.
we can discuss all we want to.
That's right.
If you
Yeah,
haven't with
she
her,
did.
then.
No,
okay.
I did.
All right, now, very good.
Mhm.
All right, item 8, discuss purchasing a new backhoe from road department SPOS funds. We have several pieces of equipment that are used so often. Alan is looking, he's got information on a backhoe, and this is from Yancey Caterpillar. And again, the threshold on this, we've got an old, very old backhoe that's, I don't even know if it's operational. There are 2 backhoes that we would like to basically see if we could sell or trade in. And, but again, the balance of that will come down to approximately $87,000. 87,000. So here's my recommendation on this though. And again, not to, I don't want to play the game here, but we're going to get to an item 10 here in a minute. That may take care of this, but in either case, I believe we're going to be looking at the end of the month before we make a decision on it. Just for the moment, I do have the specifics. I can provide this to anybody that would like, but it is a total cost of this piece of equipment, brand new, is approximately $110,000. And we'd be looking to offset that with $24,000 worth of trade-in or whatever, leaving $86,500 is our out-the-door price on this one. So, but we'll come back to that after, at least as it pertains to any decision that might be made on the purchasing policy, because it would fall into that at that point anyhow. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Item number 9.
Can you tell me what size unit they're looking at?
This is a, hang on. Oh, Lord, you're gonna make me lie here, Derek. I can tell you numbers. It's a 420 F2 ITAC, I see. Let's see, I'm looking for it's model number 420 F2.
Exie.
I'm sorry?
Exie, he changed it to
XE, okay. Great. Does that make any sense to you there? Yeah, and I can actually get more information. We just, Alan, we asked him to provide this for tonight, but he had just provided this before, shortly before we came in.
So pretty good size tractor.
This is a full size. This would be bigger than anything we have.
It's actually a backhoe though, right?
It is a backhoe,
So it's got a front end loader in it.
correct.
It's
Backhoe,
not a,
I'm sorry, backhoe loader.
yeah,
Yes.
it's got dual purpose.
One of our, a much higher use or frequency use than other equipment though. So, more to follow on that. I wanted to at least put that out there. As I come up with, hopefully, as we get more information, I'll try to fill in those blanks as far as, you know, any. I'm like you, and except that Brian's up here, that number probably doesn't mean a lot to me.
Well, it's made in England, so.
Uh-oh.
And I don't get a kickback, so.
Okay, all right,
I just know what numbers mean.
okay.
Get a discount.
Not that,
Not if the county's behind it.
just out of curiosity, not that I'm not for saving a few dollars, but is the one we have, I mean, just generally on our last leg with it at the time, is there any benefit to save? And any benefit to buy it outright and have that secondary piece as a backup or for other equipment?
Yeah, he's got the value roughly for the serviceable one is $15,000. So, that's exactly what I wanna do with this meeting is to find out what your questions are so that I can go back and we'll talk with Alan and see if there's
That's a
merit,
good idea.
you know. And the only thing that we run into, and for anybody that's run this equipment, you gotta appreciate that this, over time, the repair on some of this starts to become exactly.
And it may be
Jason.
that lot, but I just.
But I don't even have that in front of me, so I can't even tell you what year or anything, so let me do that, and, I'll get back to you all on a little bit more detailed information on that.
That and what are other departments, are we renting any that, I mean, is there just a general cost value that may actually save some money over time? I understand
Sure.
the long-term cost of maintenance, but I'm just trying to get a better understanding before we just sell ourselves short.
Right. No.
You check the warranty, and I think it should have a 2-year, but because most of the stuff has one, but they just changed it to 2, so.
This one, I'm looking right at it, 12 months unlimited hours. Let me see here if there's anything that,
So it might be different.
The XE, is it cab
Yep.
tractor? No,
That was not XE. The XE is the new model.
new one.
uh,
Low grade model,
I don't know, yeah, it is, deluxe cab. Now, that's on the one I have in front of me, the XE. It should have that if that's not an upgrade. I'll verify. It's easier just to say that, okay? And just tying back to a discussion of perhaps last week, I can't say that, let's see. We may have a need at some point to locate, spatially locate equipment in different areas. So, we'll see how that pans out too. It'd be nice not to have to be transporting these halfway over the county for every single job. All right. Item number 9, discuss goals and objectives for departments, boards, and authorities. And I'm going to ask just for a little bit more clarity on that. Derek, if you've got something that might steer the conversation a little bit more.
I thought it'd be nice to put on, I mean, of course, I requested the sign to be on there, but, mainly for just general discussion. One of the things I thought may be helpful as a board and for the community, that is if we collectively have any ideas of, whether it's a department, a board, or, the authority of some sort, if there's some particular, goal or objective that we would like to see them accomplish, or, by the end of the year accomplished, then I think that would be helpful for that group of board, for us to memorialize that to some faction. Again, not trying to hold anybody to some unreasonable request or fine, but for example, we spoke last time, I think, when we made the budget amendment on training. One of the things maybe to document the training records of county employees, so we can get a better understanding of what's been done, what needs to be done, those types of questions as, the time budget rolls around. There's, other departments, is what we can do to, cost savings, cost sharing, there's a whole host of ideas that you could think about, but I just wanted to put that for the board to at least consider, and if there's something that we collectively thought was important to track, and maybe nothing right now, but maybe something we evolve to.
Okay.
One of the things in the training that I've noticed and heard about, and that other counties do it, other smaller counties, not just the ones in, around Atlanta, those larger counties, but some of the smaller. And it's sort of not a something that's, you gotta do it, you're scheduled this time or that, or whatever this meeting, but to have some of the, different departments come in and talk about sometimes what some of their things that they see as far as their goals of what they would like to accomplish, and what they see that some of their needs are gonna be before we get to that budget time, you know? Instead of just cram a lot into that budget, but maybe if they see in March that, hey, we're gonna have to accomplish this, or we've got a goal to do this to make our department more efficient, that they can come and not have these long presentations, but just short presentations. And there's a lot of mechanics to that have to be worked out, but I just know that, there's a lot of folks that have talked about that being successful. It gives opportunity also for the departments to come and talk about things that they might be excited about, or that they're having issues with, to sort of alert the board to.
Okay. Okay. I understand what you're asking, I just gotta figure out how that gets done.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, it's not an easy task.
All right, no, that's good, I'll take a look at that too, see. Anything else on that one, at least for tonight?
I guess that's probably what you were saying too, and we could give public accolades to people that do meet certain requirements, those that do go to certain certifications, or watch so many videos online.
Also let the public sort of know what they're getting for some of their tax dollars, that sometimes it's hard to pin it there, but if somebody's becoming, certified, then they ought to be able to offer some better services within the department or to the county.
Sure.
Brag on the folks.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Anything else on that? Item 10, discuss amending the purchasing policy. Our purchasing policy is found in either online, or we have hard copy here in the county as far as our Muni code, but a couple of years ago, we made a few changes to it. You may remember making an adjustment or amendment as it pertained to emergency purchases. If there was something that had to be purchased, and truly was something that couldn't be, you wouldn't go out for bid or whatever. We haven't had many of those, if any, that I can recall, but we did want at least the ability to do this, so we amended it. We also had the inclusion of co-op purchases using these Sourcewell is an arrangement out there that has hundreds, maybe thousands of vendors, and the state of Georgia allows us to use that as a vetting process. It's very much like a quote system, so we get through their co-op. If we're looking for a piece of equipment, they're gonna canvass the United States and locate it for what those members, those vendors that participate. And we're able to, generally speaking, we're able to get it from a local vendor at that price though. So if somebody's holding them to a price, then we benefit from the company vetting that process. So we've had a couple of changes. The reason that this is on here though is the one thing that is woefully in need of attention is is purchasing methods, and that's probably more loosely put the thresholds that we use to determine the method that we're going to go out and purchase items or services. Currently, our policy has $1 to $5,000 requires a departmental purchase order. $5,001 to $15,000, we currently require 13 written price quotes, and then a departmental purchase order as well. And then over 15,000 formal seal bid. we also have, for contracted services, over 15 as well. So here's the deal though, those thresholds, we're almost forced, as we just spoke about the roof, or a piece of equipment even, these types of things. And the roof is different. If it's construction and it's over 100,000, Georgia law says that we will go out for bid on that. And I believe it's road projects over 20,000, that's all been decided. So, you know, we're trying to clean up some of this, but at the same time, these thresholds, I would like the board to consider increasing those. The state, again, uses $100,000 as a threshold for sealed bids on their construction project. I would like to recommend to the board, and I'll try to clean up this draft or this working copy I have with these changes, provide it to each of you well before we meet, so that it's not quite as busy or as confusing. Show you the existing document with line through changes for the suggested changes to it. But again, we're trying to, this is very, right now we have a difficult time. Many companies, many agencies have gone to an auction process and they put this stuff out there. And if it's over that threshold, we can't participate in it, because these thresholds are really, really low when you start talking about a piece of equipment, you know. And we've been able to negotiate some pretty good deals, but it's been on the very lower end of the spectrum, the lower cost end. So again, we're looking to move a little bit closer to what the state uses. And just like I said, I made some recommended changes, met with just to make sure that we weren't eliminating anything that was necessary. Met with the county attorney and looked at adding a few things and taking a few things away, because some of this is it's not applicable anymore to Madison County, and some of it we don't have a provision to do certain things that we probably should have. So again, housekeeping, but a very necessary change or two in here as it pertains to the authorities and the thresholds that we're looking to operate on. So I will try to get this to you before the end of this week. I'd like to have this one out so that you can see the changes, and then we can discuss and vote on it at the end of the month. That's your pleasure. If anybody's got questions, as always, with this, when you see it, please make those known so that we can at least, you know, there might be another iteration that we do and send it back out. How does this look? So it could be an iterative process, if that's all right. Any questions on that? Did I confuse you?
No, and I appreciate you getting that cleaned up so we can look at it. I guess mine's an overall question, or more overreaching question. You mentioned that that's in our muni code, so I'm assuming our policy is by ordinance. Is that required, or should our ordinance just say that we adopt some sort of purchasing policy that might can be changed in a more, I'm just trying to see what level of formality it really needs to be in. I mean, I'm not opposed to it that way, I'm just kind of curious.
You know, well, you can speak to this too, the way, when codification was required back in the early 2000s, we, along with every other county and city that had to do it, we just sort of dumped everything into our code of ordinances. And so the administrative policies like purchasing and travel and all that, or personnel, they're all in the code of ordinances too. You know, we could pull that back out, but none of them, I mean, all of it can be changed by the board at any time. We just vote at a single meeting. I guess the only advantage of it not being a muni code is it is expensive to update it. Rhonda can speak to that.
That's the only advantage, though, because it's really nice to have everything in one place when you're doing the day-to-day. Have a book or have it right there online to be able to go to, and everybody else can go to.
I'm not opposed, I'm just, I mean, it's more of a question.
Yeah, the disadvantage of having it there is the cost. The advantage is it is nice to have. I mean,
You end up with policies all over the place
Right.
that you don't even know exist.
exactly. And I know since we've done it, I just go to the computer and look at it now. I don't have to keep my 3-ring binders anymore.
No, that's,
Well, and for any amendment to it will be listed there too, so you're, the other day, and I confess, when I pulled this out, I was looking for it had nothing to do with purchasing, but I was looking for a different item, and I said, I know we amended this, I know we amended it, but it ain't in my book. And so that was, on me, and I did go to Rhonda, and it was in her book though, so.
And it was online.
And it was online, but that, and therein lies a fallacy, that this is only as good as you make it, whereas the electronic version, usually once it's put in there, it's there, you know. So, good point, good discussion. I think about that one a little bit, I don't think we're going to.
no, I mean,
I'm talking about the merit of doing it one way or the other, you know, pros and cons. All right. Anything else on that? Road update? Any urgent matter? The executive session. We have an item that we need to discuss in executive session tonight as it pertains to real estate acquisition, and if the board will permit, let's see, get in there.
Yeah, well, yeah, too, I mean, my name or title or something, yeah.
We have 3 guests, three folks that have traveled to help with this explanation. I have Don Chandler, Bill Johnston, and Carlos Salinas. And if I could get a motion to enter into the executive session, including these 3 individuals, and a second, we'll enter into executive session.
Motion to enter executive session.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any questions or concerns on that? Commissioner Bettis?
Yes.
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 Thank you, folks. We're going into executive session. Hey.
Don't make them walk.
What?
So, I hear a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion
to
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yes. What are we paying, what is the state paying a square foot as of next year? I guess it would go into effect.
What's the current
They
rate?
raised the square footage price
Oh,
on this old bill, what appears to what,
that's a good question. I don't know. I can find
I know they doubled it.
Yeah, they did.
Is it 20, 18, 20, 19, 21?
I don't know.
Okay.
I truly don't know. I do know that I remember hearing them talking about it, and they did raise it. Your motion to
Motion to
approve the
approve.
moved minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
I've got a motion, and I've got a second. Any comment on that? Let's see, Brian? Yes?
yes.
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 Motion to adjourn?
Yes.
We're adjourned. Thank you all.